Okay then, hello. We should be live now. Everything should be set up and ready to go. If I'm looking over to the side over here, I'm looking at my MacBook, just making sure everything's working properly. Yes, let's get straight into the earnings call. It has just finished, and let me just mute that very quickly. 2 seconds. There we go. And let's just get into the actual results, and then we'll talk about it a little bit later. Okay then, the first one should be this one here. Right, so what you should be seeing on the screen right now is $11.7 billion in total revenue. That's minus 42% year over year from quarter 3 of 2019. When we're actually talking about quarter 2 of 2020, they pulled in around $18 billion in total revenue. For the second quarter of this year. So it's a bit of a drop from that kind of perspective. Then we'll look at Disney Parks and Resorts next. And as you can see, it's $983 million. Now this is significantly lower than not only year over year from 2019, as you can see an 85% drop, but also from quarter 2, it was much higher. It was around $5 billion. So a significant drop there. And then we'll show the next one, which is Studio Entertainment, $1.73 billion, a minus 55% drop there, year over year. And then we've got direct-to-consumer and streaming, which incorporates obviously Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, and all of the other streaming products that they've got. And direct-to-consumer, which is obviously, in terms of selling Disney movies and renting them and all that sort of stuff. So direct-to-consumer is $3.97 billion, 2% increase over last year, which you'd expect that to maybe be a lot higher considering Disney Plus. But then again, Disney Plus at the moment, a lot of people are still on trial-based situations, and also with Verizon and different networks across the world. And then the last one we'll just look at here, which is the media networks, is $6.56 billion, and that's minus 2% from last year. Then we're just going to have a quick overview of more. So, sorry if you can hear my MacBook in the background, but it's working away. And I'm seeing all the comments come in. Oh my God, are you in the States? I am not in the United States. Jason says, I'll just put your comment up. Jason says, are you in the United States? I am not yet. Travel bans are still in place. Hopefully they'll be lifted fairly soon. I can return and go visit Walt Disney World for myself. But anyway, so we've got this financial results table I put together, and as you can see, I know looking at all these numbers it can be a bit boring, so we'll try and get through this stage and then we'll talk about more stuff. In actual fact, let's just talk about something else very quickly, which is Disney Plus pulled in 60.5 million paid subscribers. That's up from 50 million subscribers from the last update that we had, which was around April. So they've gone up another 10.5 million paid subscribers, which is fantastic news for Disney Plus. Beating all expectations. I'll just come back to me there. Hi. And that's beating all expectations from what analysts said last November when Disney Plus launched. They weren't expecting this kind of growth, but one of the upsides to the unfortunate situation that we're currently in is that a lot of people are at home and streaming more content. So it's obviously given Disney Plus a greater boost. And then we've got Mulan. So with Disney Plus's live action Mulan, it's actually going to be coming to Disney Plus, but in the first time ever, it's going to be a $29.99 purchase. So this is going to be like an add-on. So imagine like an app, for instance. You know how you have like games and stuff like that, and you have the in-app purchases and things like that. So I'm imagining that that's going to be the similar sort of situation here with Disney Plus. So interesting, because when Disney Plus launched, we all thought maybe theatrical releases would come to Disney Plus not only a lot sooner, but first run theatrical releases being brought there for a premium price, and that's actually what we're seeing with this $29.99. It should be noted that Bob Chapek, the Disney CEO, did state on the earnings call that this is going to be a one-off for Mulan, and they're going to monitor and see what kind of reception this gets, and then they'll go from there, depending. So don't expect Black Widow and the Eternals and the rest of the theatrical releases this year to necessarily, like Soul, Pixar's Soul, to necessarily come to Disney Plus as well. But they'll be analysing this strategy on September 4th, see what kind of response it gets that weekend or the week later. It's also going to be available at the same time as the theatrical release, Mulan is. And I'm just noticing now, I say Mulan in a bit of a weird way. Okay, okay, so other news, besides that exciting Mulan news there, because to be honest, we are looking at the future of the movie industry, and Disney doing this, it just shows the power of Disney Plus and having your own platform when it comes to a difficult situation like they're in, with movie theatres being closed and social distancing making going to the movies quite difficult. But if you actually think about the cost effectiveness of this, if you take a family of 4, let's say, to the movies, you know, that would easily be $30 plus popcorn and concessions and all the other stuff that go along with it. So $30, if you're really wanting to watch Mulan, probably isn't that bad of an idea or deal there. So we'll just go back to the overall revenue. Now, when it comes to these financial results, it's important to look at all this and see year over year, but I've also incorporated quarter to quarter. So we've got quarter 2 to quarter 3, 2020. So you can see the little bit of a drop there and things like that. Sorry once again if my MacBook fan is a little bit loud next to the microphone. Hopefully that's not a problem. I see all the comments coming in, and we'll have a good chat about all this stuff in a minute. I'll maybe answer some of these questions now, actually. So we got, let me just go through some of them. So, yeah, like Jennifer says there, $30 is cheap for a family of 4. Especially with today's ticket prices. We got a super chat from JWDAWSO. I don't know how to pronounce that, but thank you for the super chat there, $4.99. Great to see you live. Thanks for popping along. Okay, so yeah, like Jaden says there, what about Soul? Soul will not be coming to Disney Plus necessarily unless they see a huge response to Mulan, and then they'll maybe consider it with Soul, depending on what the current situation is with movie theatres reopening, if there's a second wave of coronavirus, which then probably will be, looking at the current situation with winter flu as well. So maybe Disney might look to bring Soul to Disney Plus, but that hasn't been announced officially by Bob Chapek or Disney yet. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. And then let me just go through some of this. So as we're looking here, we can see the quarterly revenue for 2019. We can also see quarter 2 revenue. Operating income is what we should be looking at as well. So as you can see there, they've got an operating income which is, you know, it's basic. It's almost net. It's not quite, but you know, it's almost net is what you get kind of thing. But obviously with operating income, there's extra things to go into a company like Disney. But it's roughly that number. But so we got minus $1.9 billion for the parks experiences and products category there. Now that is not good news at all. But to be honest, if we're going to be talking about the shutdown of all of the parks, it was kind of to be expected. I'll put this microphone back down there again. It's kind of to be expected. I mean, you had Disneyland announce its reopening on July 17th for Disneyland's birthday, and then, or anniversary, and then they have had to push it back and indefinitely postpone it because they haven't got approval from the Californian governor and, Anaheim and stuff like that. So who knows when Disneyland will reopen? That's a big part of their business as well. Obviously, it's 2 parks compared to 4 parks in Walt Disney World. Other comments were made by Bob Chapek regarding Disney did announce, and they did state that basically, yeah, it's hard. They were seeing high interest in returns to Walt Disney World and a pent-up demand, as we spoke about in Q2 with that earnings call. But obviously it hasn't come to fruition because of the COVID situation in Florida. Seeing, you know, all-time daily highs and things like that. So they're expecting interest to return, and they're seeing it fairly strong in terms of, you know, high cancellations, but also high rebookings. That's maybe the reason why we see 933 million for 983 million, sorry, for Disney Parks Experiences and Products, because obviously a lot of people are not just cancelling their trip altogether, they're rebooking it for a later date, which means that revenue kind of falls within this quarter because it's changed within that quarter, so therefore it's this quarter's revenue. But yeah, so other questions that were asked, how much has COVID cost Disney so far? So the pandemic has affected the bottom line of Disney by around $7.8 billion so far, which is an astounding number. It's huge. But when it comes to the actual costs of all the infrastructure changes and all the different protocol changes and things like that, not just within the parks, but also movie production, you know, they've had to make different accommodations for that stuff as well. It's cost them around $1 billion for COVID preparation. So all that plexiglass and sanitizer and different changes to different protocols and things like that around the parks and enhanced sanitation. It's cost them around $1 billion to get to that point of reopening Walt Disney World and movie production has resumed. And that's another thing, which is movie and TV productions has also resumed domestically and internationally. So in London as well, places like that. So hopefully, you know, we're not going to see too much of a delay in terms of a release of a lot of these movies. But realistically, it's going to be at least 3 or 4 months pushing back most of these movies and TV show premieres and things like that. But The Mandalorian shouldn't be affected, and that should actually be coming out in fall of 2020 of this year, season 2 of that. And then just one other thing which I want to quickly mention is Disney has $23 billion in liquidity. Now, liquidity is obviously extra cash flow ready to be used for like a cash burn situation. So if Disney were to shut down again and had to shut down all operations, then what Disney said is they're seeing this $23 billion, which they raised through debt sell-offs in March and April, as a kind of insurance policy. So if anything did happen, you know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, how can Disney manage this current situation for a longer period of time? Well, that $23 billion helps that out. So, yeah, if COVID and all the parks had to remain shut for 3 years or something, then yes, we might be starting to look at Disney in the perspective of, you know, will it make it through it the same way? But with $23 billion in cash reserves in liquidity there, basically, you know, Disney isn't going to be going anywhere. So a bit of positive news. Disney should make it through this global financial situation. Obviously, there's going to be a tightening and a restructuring of a lot of what's going on in Disney. I also expect it's going to fundamentally change the business. You know, Bob Iger mentioned back in April or May, he said that it will emerge from this crisis as a more streamlined company, which is kind of code for you know, a reduction in the workforce. So yeah, it's I expect there's going to be automation within Disney's future as well in certain aspects, you know, to make that easier. Okay, let's get to some of these comments. I'll start having a look at these comments now. So, number one, thank you everybody for coming along for this live Q&A. Obviously, this isn't the end of it. It does sound like that. But we're going to continue to talk about anything that you guys want to ask, and I'll see if I can answer and add a bit more insight to. If you haven't already, make sure to give this live stream a thumbs up, subscribe down below, you know, all that usual stuff that you do on a video. You know, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and all that kind of great stuff. I don't want to, go on and on about it, but it does help the channel. Okay, let's get to these. But thank you for everybody for coming along for this live stream and tuning in. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the bottom, maybe work my way up a little bit. So sorry if you've written earlier on, but maybe copy and paste it, and I'll pin it as a comment. So, whoa, they're going fast. Okay, can Disney survive financially if parks in California are closed to the end of the year? That one comes from Gart Vibes. As I said before, yeah, that $23 billion does allow Disney to easily financially survive if they have to keep Disneyland closed. The bigger dilemma is if they were forced to close Walt Disney World again, because that is what, there's 4 parks there. It's the vacation kingdom of the world in many ways for Disney, and they've got Disneyland Paris back open. Hong Kong Disneyland has had to reshut, but it's only 1 park. Shanghai Disney is still open, and obviously Tokyo's open. So yeah, they don't own Tokyo, but the licensing deal's still in place and everything like that. So yeah, they would be able to make it okay financially. It would be interesting to see if Disney couldn't make it financially. If their overall market capitalization did drop, who would be in the running to maybe acquire Disney maybe one day? I don't know. I would estimate that Apple would definitely be a company that Disney wouldn't mind, ever selling to if they ever had to. I don't see that as a possibility right now, on these quarter 3 earnings. But, one quarter into another quarter, the fiscal year ends on September 26th. So the new fiscal year will start on September 27th, and we should hopefully see the $900 million the capex or capital expenditure on all the construction projects around Disney, that should be unpaused. But I expect to see further reductions to that construction. But obviously, we didn't get other big announcements like Ratatouille opening date, and we also didn't get an adjusted opening date for Avengers Campus. And the main reason for that, the Avengers Campus one at least, is that we don't even know when Disneyland's going to open. So yeah, construction can technically resume on the Avengers Campus with a skeleton workforce on that construction site, and I imagine they do actually have construction ongoing there. But the problem with that is that, would you necessarily open it as soon as Disneyland reopens and cause a crowd surge, towards Avengers Campus? It wouldn't be great press for Disney. So, picking that date, I would now estimate that we won't see Avengers Campus open until early 2021. Let's have a quick drink. Don't mind. Okay, so let me just have a look at some of this. Wait 2 seconds here. Okay. Matthew Kaplan says, and let me just find this. Sorry, I'm trying to use this new streaming service, streaming software. So let me just try and find that comment there. Matthew Kaplan says, do you think that Disney World might reclose? Disney World reopened with a huge, amount of daily coronavirus cases. They reopened with around 11,000 new cases a day. So if they were to reopen when it was at that stage, it would take huge numbers for Disney to reclose Walt Disney World. It's not out of the realm of possibility, Matthew, but for now I would say it's probably not going to happen yet. Let's have a look at a couple of these comments here. Jeanette, by the way, guys, if you are sending super chats, thank you for sending them. It always helps support the channel. I'm not necessarily... I'm just trying to work out a way, just if you bear with me for just a second, and then I can find a way to actually make sure I can see every super chat that's coming in. So there, because it's not showing up in the... I'm just seeing normal comments in this field. So let me just double check. Everything's coming in fine. 2 seconds. I know this is a fascinating live stream, but there we go. Right, so there we go. So that's Matthew. Asked about Matthew Kaplan. So then we've got do you see Disney stock Let me just close that one out. There we go. Did you see Disney stock went from the close of 11729 to 123? So these figures are expected by investors and everyone else. Yeah, the investor community did know that it was going to be around a $2 billion loss within the parks and experiences, parks, resorts, experiences and products division. So, it wasn't a big surprise to them. I think the investing community are sort of pleasantly surprised to see subscriber growth and this new strategy of bringing the theatrical releases to Disney Plus. There's positive moves there, and also Chapek and the CFO and people like that, they addressed the fact that there was less interest. How do I put it? There was strong interest in a return to Walt Disney World and pent-up demand beforehand, and they've seen that drop off with the COVID cases rise, which was to be expected, to be honest, with the high surge of cases. So they've been higher than expected cancellations because of that. But then again, also people have been changing and rebooking. Let me just go through some of these other things. So Disney has $454 million in free cash flow. Less than originally expected because of COVID in terms of the interest for Walt Disney World. And if we are just looking at the current fiscal situation, as demand comes back for Walt Disney World, they'll start to bring back more and more of the furloughed cast members and ramp it back on up. So that $23 billion in liquidity is also to cover extra costs of maybe potentially running the parks at at a loss, as they currently are running the parks at a loss with the attendance that they're getting. So they are anticipating maybe doing that, for a longer period of time, maybe through Q4, which ends at the end of September. And if they have to continue it into fiscal year 2021, then they will, and it kind of covers all that sort of stuff. I've just got a super chat here. Did you mention the cruise? Did they mention cruise line? And that's from Michelle Martin. Michelle, let me just grab that comment 2 seconds, and then wish this thing would show me 2 seconds and just try to find that one. There we go. Did they mention the cruise line? Well, they didn't just specify it. Nobody asked about it on the earnings call. It wasn't like a big question that was made apparent. It was kind of rolled into the rest of parks, experience and products kind of talk about that. But essentially, they spoke about it back in Q2, and it's in line with the rest of the cruise industry. I wouldn't expect cruise industry to really return until mid 2021 in a big way, but they didn't mention cruise line specifically. What do you... Let's just answer some of these other questions here. So Toy Story 995 says, what do you think about the upcoming Luca? So Pixar announced their latest movie that's going to be coming out next summer, and it's called Luca, and it's set in the Italian Riviera, and it's it looks quite interesting. It's set around this young boy, it's a coming of age story, but he's hiding a big secret that he is actually a sea monster. So typical Pixar fashion there, think it's just a normal Pixar movie or just a normal coming of age movie, and then all of a sudden they throw a left curve and be like, no, in actual fact he's a sea monster. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But yeah, it's coming out next summer. As we've got Soul coming out in November, which I'm very much looking forward to as well. And Raya and the Last Dragon for Disney Animation, which has been moved to March. Okay, let me just keep going through these comments. Sorry if I'm not as coherent. So Disney Demi said, oh, thank you for that. $4.99 there says, let me just move this out of the way, 2 seconds there. Says, what do you think will be the next big announcement that will be pulled due to the announcement? I'm guessing that's due to the earnings call and things like that. So I'm guessing you're talking about Disney Park projects and things like that. The next big announcement I would expect to be postponed. It really depends if I would personally expect Disney to. I don't know if this will necessarily be the next big one, but I do expect Star Wars Galaxy's Edge coming to Disneyland Paris to maybe be pulled from the offerings or delayed, postponed. I can see Frozen coming to Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris. That's probably still going to go ahead because Frozen's extremely popular in Europe, and so it does amazing business for Disneyland Paris, and it's going to become like the new castle icon for Walt Disney Studios Park. Avengers Campus over in Walt Disney Studios Park is making great progress. So that's still going ahead, and construction's resumed in Disneyland Paris for that. So, the new Iron Man roller coaster and Web Slinger, which, is a clone of the one coming to California Adventure, but it's a fresh build from the ground up. That should still be opening as well. Maybe it's going to be late 2021 now before we see Rock and Roller Coaster reopen as the Iron Man roller coaster. But yeah, and then in terms of like more postponements and things like that in Walt Disney World, I don't think they've released an official statement regarding Reflections at Lakeside Lodge. But yeah, I would expect that to be postponed for quite a bit of time. The site's been prepped, but you can leave a site prep and just walk away from it. Whereas something like the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars Hotel, it's gone vertical. They've spent all the money on a lot of this unique and very specialised technology that goes into that kind of resort. And so, yeah, they kind of need to put that somewhere. It's not like a generic resort like Reflections. Let me come back to some of these comments here. So I've got TRT Cuddle says, do you know how this will affect Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary celebration? So yeah, the 50th anniversary celebrations. Okay, so the two big things which were going to be opening during the 50th celebrations. I say during in a bit of a weird way there because Tron was originally supposed to open kind of like at the beginning of the 50th anniversary celebration kickoff. It might be pushed back a little bit more now into mid to late summer 2021, I'd say. But that should open for the 50th anniversary celebrations. And Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, it's a whole different issue and headache from the standpoint of it's a very heavy media-based attraction. Obviously, on DSNY Newscast, we've discussed the projection domes and things like that. You're going to be zooming in and out of these projection domes and this unique swivel ride vehicle that has complete control over where you can view 360-degree experience. So, but the problem with that is they obviously need the actors to film specific scenes. So Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, and obviously the other two are CGI. But they need to get those actors back, and trying to slot that in around Chris Pratt's filming schedule and Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana's working on Avatar 2, and Chris Pratt's working on Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, I think it's called. And so different projects come up. They have to work around that. So Imagineering will need to get those actors back, so therefore they can film a specific sequence. A bit like what they did for Mission Breakout, but they were kind of hoping that they could. Before, obviously, the whole James Gunn situation happened and it delayed the production of Guardians 3. Imagineering were hoping that they could kind of like, just take the actors off to one side one day of production in LA or somewhere, or maybe in London, and just go, okay, can we film these specific segments for this attraction, and kind of not have to pull the actors in specifically for this attraction. But now they're going to most likely have to do that. Or there's talk even, insiders over in WDW Magic forums have mentioned how there's possible talk about a CGI, a bit like deep fakes, or the CGI technology they used for Leia and in Rogue One, or what's his name? Can't remember his name now. But, you know, digitally producing a character, a live action character. I mean, you've seen the great moves that they've done with Lion King. It's just that uncanny valley thing of a person being made CG. But the problem with that is, well, not the problem actually, the benefit of being an attraction is that you're moving past it so quickly and it's from afar and stuff like that, that they'll, you know, maybe digital trickery in terms of having a CGI version of the character won't look as bad, or you won't see the uncanny valley effect compared to how it is on screen. So, you know, it's an interesting prospect. But coming back to your question about the Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary celebrations, yeah, a lot of the other refurbishments and things like that were planned, I can see Disney doing a couple of like subtle tweaks here and there to certain attractions and being like, hey, it's a whole new, you know, it's an enhanced Country Bears, or it's an enhanced Carousel of Progress, or something like that. But I don't see them doing big, elaborate overhauls like what was planned for Spaceship Earth. The interesting thing about Spaceship Earth is that it's only being pushed back. So that could still go down for refurbishment, but it won't be reopened in time for the 50th. So that could be delayed by another year or so. Let's go through some of these comments. Whoa, they've really come in. I'm sorry if I haven't got to everyone's comments. They've been coming in thick and fast, and I do tend to ramble. So sorry about that. Okay, let me just start going through some of them. So, see if ones that pop up. Let me just find... What about the water parks? Jaden says there. The water parks do remain closed at the moment, and I expect them to remain closed for the foreseeable future. I know Volcano Bay has reopened, but Volcano Bay is also it's a different thing altogether. That's Universal's prerogative. By the way, Universal haven't come out of this whole COVID thing unscathed. They've seen a 94% drop in revenue across their theme park business. So that's Japan, Orlando, and Anaheim. Obviously, their Anaheim part still remains closed, but you know they've seen a huge drop in revenue as well. So comparable to Disney, Disney probably has done slightly better. Just for the fact that they've got Shanghai, which reopened, and then they had Disneyland Paris as well. But you know, obviously Disney has a lot more things, so you know, you could almost say that Universal had less to lose, but because it's obviously a bigger part of Disney's business, the theme park business, and obviously the cruise line. So, but from the perspective of Universal, they haven't come out of it unscathed either. So let me find another one. Okay, what do you think they might bring a nighttime parade like a rebuild of Spectrum Magic for the 50th anniversary when the pandemic is over? So I covered this recently on DSNY Newscast that the rumoured 50th parade, the new nighttime parade, they did actually have one in the works for the 50th anniversary. Supposedly, according to sources, it has been cancelled for now. You know, who knows? Things can always change. Things always do change at Disney, but at the moment, the new idea for the parade has been cancelled. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be a new parade. Because there might be additions to the daytime parade and have a bit like, remember the 25th anniversary Remember the Magic parade, you know, that very catchy song, which I always loved that parade because it was kind of like the first time I went to Walt Disney World, and I just seeing it back in all the home videos and stuff like that. Remember the Magic was a good parade. I love that one. But so we might see a special daytime parade come to Walt Disney World for the 50th as part of the 50th anniversary plans. But no new nighttime parade, supposedly at the moment. But possibly Main Street Electrical might be brought out of storage once again. And we might see that make a return for the 50th. Who knows? That's like a limited time kind of thing. So let me just get some more of these comments. 2 seconds. Any news on the Tron and Guardians coaster? So, yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy coaster, the construction's resumed on that. Cosmic Rewind. I'm hoping we get more of an inside look at some of the, we've only received very limited concept art from that attraction so far. Hoping we get more inside looks as they build more of that. And from the perspective of Disney will need more stuff to post for their press relations. With all of these projects being scaled back in somewhat, they're going to have to kind of, like Disney Parks blog, for instance, to keep that content stream coming, they're going to have to be more inventive with the way that they cover these upcoming projects. So we'll probably get more insight into the development of, subtle milestones for these attractions. The Tron one's a bit boring because it's a clone of the one in Shanghai, but it's still interesting that it's coming to Magic Kingdom. But Guardians of the Galaxy is a brand new attraction, and at the moment they've been very tight-lipped about it and being, it's. But I don't actually think that's a very good business strategy. Obviously, I would say that because I'm DSNY Newscast and I talk about the subtle changes and construction and details for these rides, but. Personally, I feel like open communication in this day and age is always better. It acts as free advertising in many ways, and so I reckon we'll probably hear more about Guardians in the future as well because of that. Okay, sorry, way more comments. Going through them all. Let me just get to some of these. Do you have any information regarding Spaceship, the Epcot Space 220 restaurant? It was so close to being open. I thought, are they waiting for something? Yes, basically, Sam, the spaceship, the Space 220 restaurant is going to be operated, but it's also partially funded by the Patina Group, which is a separate organisation altogether, obviously. And the problem with that is obviously, it's how the Patina Group are handling their finances at the moment. I imagine if the Patina Group didn't want to operate it and they couldn't, because obviously they run Via Napoli in the Italian pavilion as well. But if they were to not want to return and operate Space 220, then Disney would definitely step up and take over the operations. But I'm guessing they're in no rush at the moment because why open up a new restaurant that you're going to basically run at because it's obviously Patina Group's decision when to open this thing. And at the moment, with the current capacity restrictions in place, why open up a new restaurant, spend more money to finish off the construction on a new restaurant and open it and do the training of the staff and everything like that, just to run it at a very limited capacity and not turn a profit. So I'm guessing they'll be waiting until they can operate these, this Space 220 restaurant at a higher capacity before they're ready to do anything. It is very close to completion, from what I was hearing. The inside of the thing, I'll see if I can find a photo of it. 2 seconds and drop that in. 2 seconds. Let me just do this. Let's play around with some stuff here. Space 220. Okay. There we go. Got the photo there. So you can see me just behind the back of that. But so as you can see, the wraparound 240 feet wraparound digital projection display there, looking out into space. Each one of those has great big glass panels, basically, and to separate that on this display to create a kind of immersion and depth between the two. But apparently, one of the pieces was broken when that happened, when they were lifting it into place or during construction. So they're now waiting for a new big piece of glass to arrive. So it's very close to completion. Like I said, it's just about when Patina Group want to open it. I would probably think before the year's end because holiday crowds and things like that. But then again, it all depends upon vaccinations, widespread availability of vaccinations, adherence to mask rules, things like that, resurgence of COVID cases. There's so many unknowns at the moment. Let me just go back to some of these comments here. Okay. We're still live. 2 seconds. Just double check. Yeah. Sorry, I just want to double check that. Okay. Yeah, so we got Kevin saying, I'm sure Mickey's Christmas party will not happen this year. Think they'll still decorate for Christmas to their usual degree. Yeah, Kevin, from what I've heard, yeah, the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party, which is my personal favourite over the Halloween party, because I'm more of a Horror Nights fan, so I was a bit more disappointed in the cancellation of Horror Nights this year, Universal, but I expect Universal to do something in terms of maybe, not have the scare houses and the scare mazes and things like that, and instead they'll have they'll maybe just have the scare zones and do it as kind of like a not as a ticketed event, but just as an extra offering within Universal Studios to mark the 30th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights. But I would expect Mickey's Christmas party not to happen this year either. Still early on. Disney are probably waiting until September to make that announcement, until they get a bit closer, a bit like what they did with Halloween, the not so scary and things like that. But I wouldn't hold my breath for that one. Someone just said, yeah, the cool background is back. Yeah, I'll actually show you something with this. Okay, so 2 seconds, let me show you. So as you see here, I don't know which one's better, which one's better to pull down. Wait, you may be able to see that there's a green screen behind that. So expect some extra green screen content to be coming your way in future videos. And actually that's a pretty good segue for me to just very quickly mention that expect new content to be coming to DSNY Newscast in the coming weeks, and so I'm going to be starting up a new series that's going to be called Waltoneering, and as in the name, Waltoneering. I've always said, but now it's over to you, the Waltoneers, and this time around it's going to be me giving my ideas for what I would like to see come to the Disney parks as well. So it's going to be, but now it's over to you, Jack, as a Waltoneer, to Waltoneer my way through an Armchair Imagineering series. So I'm going to begin that. It's going to be similar to the Wall-E video I did back in April. And it's going to, the first one should be out this week or end of this week so I'm working on it now, and I've done a pretty cool intro to it, so expect that, and I'm going to get a lot more creative with the intros and things like that. But currently I'm not in Orlando. This is just the other side of the DSNY Newscast studio set, because obviously when you're on YouTube you need to have a proper set and things like that. It's just a spare room, my kind of like extra room here, but it works, and you actually right up against where the microphone would be in the studio, so that's how close the proximity is there to the DSNY Newscast one. But and then other content which I've got coming, I want to start doing more opinion pieces, and they're not just going to be like here's Jack, just a quick opinion about whatever. It's going to be more video essay style, so properly written scripts once again, well thought through, kind of an analysis, a bit like you've seen me do in the past on where I thought that a fifth park location could be at Walt Disney World. That since everything that's happened this year, I would now change my estimation on where they would put a fifth park in Walt Disney World if ever happens in the next 10 to 20 years. I would not choose ESPN Wide World of Sports now. I'd probably pick the option 1 in that video, which was over near Coronado. So, that kind of content I'm going to be bringing. I'm just trying to work out a name at the moment. I'm leaning towards DSNY Deep Dive for the name, because that's what we do. We'll do a deep dive into whatever we're talking about. And then, obviously, I'm also toying with the idea, depending on how well this live stream's gone, because hopefully it hasn't been a complete disaster. But yeah, doing more, regular live streams. So this kind of format, but maybe keep it to a shorter time period. It's been 45 minutes already, but keep it to maybe like half an hour. and do maybe trailer reactions and live streams and stuff like that. And maybe do that every Sunday and call that DSNY Streaming Sunday or DSNY Live Stream Sunday or something like that. But yeah, expect an update regarding all that soon. And then I would also like to bring a podcast, either to Patreon, or which, by the way, links are always down below in the description box. But either on Patreon, bring back the Walt Disney Radio idea, or maybe expand it on out to its own channel or whatever like that. And I've got a couple of friends to do that with, and expand out Walt Disney Radio. Just a general chit chat about anything going on in Disney, like that kind of thing. Okay, let's get back to some of these comments. Okay, 2 seconds. SoCal Encounter has put up a... wait, 2 seconds. There you go. Super chat, $4.99. Thank you for that. What's your must-have snack when you visit the parks? Much like Tim Tracker. Tim has said in his vlogs recently that he's very disappointed that Casey's Corner has been closed. And I, much like Tim, I love a good Casey's Corner hot dog. Always partial to one of those. To me, when I go to Disney and stuff like that, it's not Disney. I don't have one every time because when I'm out there, and I'm out there for a long period of time, every single time I go to Magic Kingdom. But often, I won't count it as a proper Disney day unless I have, one of my Casey's Corner hot dogs with a load of that plasticky cheese on it. I love that. And let me just find out some more of these comments here. Okay, yeah. This is one that says, "Dude, I've been watching you for years. I respect everything you put into your work." Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you for that. Procrastinators there. Thank you for that. There's a lot of work that goes into, even doing this. These are all MDF boards that properly cut out and stuff like that. And then gluing these panels on, green screen, stuff like that. That was probably a day's work doing all of these boards and stuff like that, and painting, so therefore you don't see any gaps and stuff in between. A lot of these posters, bear with me for a second, I'm just going to step away for a second and just show you some of these posters. A lot of these posters, like the It's a Small World one, it's a DSNY World, DSNY Mountain, Big Thunder Newscasts like Horizons, the Great DSNY Ride, Great Movie Ride, Enchanted DSNY Room, Waltoneer Mover, and so on and so forth. They've all taken a long time to make, and they are actually they're around $12 each one of those. So I've got quite a lot of those printed because I want to. Number one, they can come with me to America, but also it just freshens up the videos and just gives you something extra to look at than my stupid face. So instead of staring at me, you can stare at the posters instead in the background, and maybe you'll find them interesting and little puns, and they're not even really that clever, the puns, but little play on Waltoneer and DSNY Newscast into these attraction posters and movie posters and stuff like that. So thank you for watching for so long, and thank you for always supporting the channel, because it really does mean a great deal. Let me just Theme Park Shark says, let me just put this comment up there, $9.99. Thank you for that, Theme Park Shark. Keep doing your great stuff. You inspired me to start my own channel, and I'm super excited to see the new stuff you've got on the way. Yeah, Theme Park Shark actually is another great YouTube channel. Does lots of live streams. Actually, Theme Park Shark is the person who told me about this live stream software. So thank you for that. It's called Ecamm. So thank you for telling me about that. It's fantastic. And it's allowing me to look at the comments, interact with it, and so I'd say highly recommend go check out his channel as well, because he's pushing the boundaries with what we're doing with in the Disney YouTube live stream space. He's doing some great work there, and he often collaborates with different YouTubers, and maybe I should be on one of his videos at some point if he'll have me on. Okay, let me just find out more of these comments. 2 secs. Really cool to see you live. Are you planning to do this more often? Some Darren there. Darren, I am actually planning to do this more often. If you guys don't, I don't know. Me personally, I always wonder why people even watch me. If it's a little, I understand. I always think with the videos, with the newscasts, I know the reason why people watch those. It's because a lot of work goes into them. Good editing, and they're concise and to the point, and there's good analysis, and there's all that sort of stuff. I kind of get that. With a live stream, I'm new to the live stream game, so I watch some people's live streams, like I watch Resort TV 1's live streams and stuff like that, and Big Fat Panda's live stream, and I get it. I get the culture of it's kind of like a showcase on the person, but I don't know. If you guys like this live stream format, then I'll consider doing it once a week, and we'll see how that develops. Let me keep going with this. I've just got another dislike, everybody. I've got 3 dislikes on this video. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm probably going to end up with around 19 dislikes on this video overall, because I always end up with around 20 dislikes every single DSNY Newscast video. I think it's the same 20 people disliking every single one of my videos. So thank you. Cheers. Okay, Danny Kendall there. I like the posters. That Danny Kendall is actually my brother, Danny Kendall, commenting on the video, commenting on the live stream there. So hi there, Danny. Okay, Natalie says, let me send this one up. Thanks for all you do. Love your videos. Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you for that, Natalie. DSNY Newscast isn't anything without you guys. It would just be me speaking into a void. So without you guys watching, it really it makes it something. And I'm very blessed to have the loyal fan base and subscriber base and patrons and everything that I really have. And it's never ever lost on me that everything that you guys do to do that. So thank you once again. Here's a comment. Is Universal Newscast coming back? Maybe at some point. I don't know whether it will be Will, my other brother, coming back and doing it, or I'll be doing it, or you'll see this set and changed it with orange, yellow, and green lighting, and maybe do that. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me just find more of these comments. Sorry, they're really coming in fast. Here's one. Caden Merrill says, "Hey Jack, love your videos, man. I've got 2 questions. 1, when do you think Disneyland will reopen? And 2, if you could bring back one past ride, what would it be? For me, it's Alien Encounter." Now, Alien Encounter was a pretty great ride. I did it once when I was a very young kid, and it scared me. It scared me a lot, but it was, I liked Alien Encounter, but what I would bring back is an updated version of Horizons. I've always liked that one. Horizons, for me, I love anything futuristic and looking towards the future and that optimism of, new technology and stuff like that. And Horizons kind of epitomizes that for me. So when they ripped that one down and built Mission Space is nice, but I'd much rather see Horizons there. But then again, it's the Tomorrowland dilemma, isn't it? Of it's never, although Horizons did set it so far in the future, underwater cities and things like that, and robot butlers, that Horizons in many ways would still look okay today. So I just wish that we could bring Horizons back. Your first question, when do I think Disneyland will reopen? It's whenever California get the COVID cases down. I expect we'll get an update regarding the reopening then. The current situation, I would expect Disneyland, I don't expect it to stay closed till the end of the year, but I reckon it might be another month or 2. Your guess is as good as mine with that one. I don't have inside sources in terms of what Gavin Newsom's thinking and things like that. So, it's a difficult one. I would like to see Disneyland reopen with very limited capacity, just to bring some of those cast members back. But it is what it is. I can't really offer much more light on that situation there. Okay, let me just get to some more of these comments. 2 seconds. We'll call it a day at, what time is it right now? 55 minutes. So we'll call it a day at an hour, because I feel like 1 hour of me talking is enough for anybody. So we'll do that. I'm just trying to find, I just don't want to have missed anybody's super chats. Just want to make sure that everybody who gave a super chat gets read out. Make sure, I'm not good at live streaming, so sorry if I've missed anybody. No, I think I've covered everybody there. Okay, that's good. So let's just answer a couple more of these comments. Do you think there will be any Tony Stark cameos in Avengers Campus? Yeah, it's actually an alternative timeline. So yeah, it allows for Tony Stark or Iron Man to make cameos, because it's kind of, I can't remember exactly how the Imagineers put it, but it's like a pre-snap or an alternative timeline where the snap never happened, and Tony is supposedly around. So I would say that I would hope that Disney move away from these kind of fixed timelines within their lands, because it's only problematic, as we're seeing with Galaxy's Edge. Fixing it between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker means that, you can't easily, integrate Mandalorian or something like that in there. But yet we're seeing Baby Yoda or the child merchandise within Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World. So I feel like you're handcuffing yourself when you give yourself a timeline. I think it's cool from a perspective of storytelling, but it should be looser. And you can expand upon the story without giving exact dates. And that's, we don't know the exact dates of all the other lands. One thing that's always bothered me about Toy Story Land is it's called Andy's Backyard, but yet we see references to Bonnie's toys. I know that's stupid. I'm a grown man, and I'm annoyed about that, but it's always been something that annoys me a little bit. Also, I always thought that if they're going to call it Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I'd like to have seen it called Toy Story Land Andy's Backyard, because it is Andy's backyard. But yeah, it's interesting from that kind of standpoint. Lazy Grookey says, when do you think Galaxy's Edge will be back to normal? Back to normal in terms of good attendance? Well, it all depends upon when the parks get back to that level. But it's a couple of ways to interpret that back to normal. I'm guessing you meant attendance, but in terms of maybe potentially one day in the future resetting it or retheming it to parts of the original trilogy, it's potential. There's potential for that. They wouldn't require huge changes, I don't think, to the land. And it's been designed in such a way that I like Black Spire Outpost as its own thing, because Tatooine or Hoth or anything like that, it's very limiting. You're very much on that planet, whereas this new planet Batuu, that could exist in the original trilogy, that can exist in this current trilogy, it can exist in any timeline or any trilogy or any Star Wars franchise, and I like that idea of Black Spire Outpost. That was very clever of the Imagineers to do that. So yeah, unlike Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where you're visiting an exact location from the movie, it feels very Star Wars-esque, of course, but it gives them flexibility. But yeah, I'd expect them to return to normal when park capacity gets back to normal and attendance gets back to normal. And, it all depends on vaccines and things like that. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine trial is going very well. It's in trial 2 to 3 at the moment, and it's being tested in places like South Africa and Brazil. Countries with bigger, COVID spikes at the moment. So we'll see how that develops, and hopefully we'll all be getting, herd immunity through vaccinations and things like that fairly soon. It could be the end of this year, knock on wood, that kind of thing will happen, and the world can somewhat return to a bit of normalcy. But I do think that, as Eddie Soto, an Imagineer, says recently, basically, much like 9/11 changed how, 20 years after 9/11 happened or so, 19 years or so after it happened, we're still having bag checks because of the threat of domestic terror within the parks and things like that. I would expect that the ramifications of the pandemic will have drastic effects on the rest of Disney's business and the way that we see new experiences being brought to the parks, with sanitation at the forefront and more contactless, less touch points, things like that. I wouldn't see, you know how we saw a couple of years ago back in 2014 with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and the touching of the interactive queues and things. I'd see that less likely to occur in the future. Does that mean that we're looking at a more digital Disney park experience? Possible. We're already seeing, Disney Genie is meant to be on its way to replace Disney, My Disney Experience eventually. So we'll see how that develops and how that will change the whole Disney experience. But yeah, that's that one. One last question. We're at 1 hour, so one last question, and then I'll call it a night, and we'll get back to a newscast or so later on this week. Might be a Waltoneering video. I don't know yet. Might be one of those. Okay. Let me see if I can answer a couple of these very quickly. What's your favourite milk in Galaxy Edge, blue or green milk? I'm partial to the blue milk. I like it. It tastes more like a Twister ice lolly from the UK. I like that one. The Imagineers didn't want Batu. They wanted Tatooine, Disney exec said. So yeah, that's correct. It was one of the original plans, which we'll maybe discuss in a future video. But yeah, the original idea was to set it as Tatooine and set it where Indiana Jones Stunt Show Spectacular takes place and things like that around there, and incorporate Star Wars into it all. But Kathleen Kennedy came along and said, wouldn't it be wiser to create a new planet? And so that's why I say I think it was actually quite clever of the Imagineers to come up with a planet that feels so Star Wars-y, but is its own thing. And then this will be the last con. So last question. There. What are your plans for the 50th? Well, my plans for the 50th are hopefully to be in America. I will be there to celebrate it with the rest of you on October 1st of 2021 when it does happen. And hopefully I've made the move to America maybe by that point or so. Yeah, so I'm hoping to be there for it, number one. And I will definitely see you all there in October 1st, 2021. And DSNY Newscast will still be around, without a doubt. And it will be, and then we've got the next big milestone, which will be Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary, which is a huge milestone, which not that many people are talking about, which will be October 16th, 2023. So be very interesting to see it, and I'll hopefully be doing DSNY Newscast still by then, and we'll be able to build up and do the anticipation towards that and celebrate that as well. So that's everything for now, guys. I'll take that comment away. Sorry, LMG Vids there just popped in. I guess I missed the major part of the live stream. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well too, LMG Vids. Great POV videos there as well. So guys, for now, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon. And now I need to press the finish button. I've got to find that somewhere. There it is. There it is, right.